The 2002 Bali bombings occurred on October 12, 2002 in the tourist district of Kuta on the Indonesian island of Bali. The attack killed 202 people. A further 209 people were injured. Various members of Jemaah Islamiyah, a violent Islamist group, were convicted in relation to the bombings, including 3 individuals who were sentenced to death. The attack involved the detonation of 3 bombs, a backpack-mounted device carried by a suicide bomber, a large car bomb, both of which were detonated in or near popular nightclubs in Kuta, and a third much smaller device detonated outside the United States consulate in Denpasar, causing only minor damage. An audio cassette purportedly carrying a recorded voice message from Osama Bin Laden stated that the Bali bombings were in direct retaliation for support of the United States war on terror and Australia's role in the liberation of East Timor. On November 9, 2008, Imam Samudra, Amrizai Nur Hussein and Huda bin Abdul Haq were executed by firing squad on the island prison of Nusa Kambangan at 0:15 local time. On March 9, 2010, Dulmatin, nicknamed the Genius believed to be responsible for setting off one of the Bali bombs with a mobile phone was killed in a shootout with Indonesian police in Jakarta. Attack. At 23:05 Central Indonesian time on October 12, 2002, a suicide bomber inside the nightclub Paddy's Pub detonated a bomb in his backpack, causing many patrons, with or without injuries, to immediately flee into the street. 20 seconds later, a second and much more powerful car bomb hidden inside a white Mitsubishi van was detonated by another suicide bomber outside the Sari Club, a renowned open-air thatch roof bar located opposite Paddy's Pub. The van was also rigged for detonation by remote control in case the second bomber had a sudden change of heart. The bombing occurred during one of the busiest tourist periods of the year in Kuta Beach, driven in part by many Australian sporting teams making their annual end-of-season holiday. Damage to the densely populated residential and commercial district was immense, destroying neighbouring buildings and shattering windows several blocks away. The car bomb explosion left a 1-metre-deep crater. The local Sunblaw hospital was ill-equipped to deal with the scale of the disaster and was overwhelmed with the number of injured, particularly burn victims. There were so many people injured by the explosion that some of the injured had to be placed in hotel pools near the explosion site to ease the pain of their burns. Many of the injured were forced to be flown extreme distances to Darwin and Perth for specialist burn treatment. A comparatively small bomb detonated outside the U.S. consulate in Denpasar, which is thought to have exploded shortly before the 2 Kuta bombs, caused minor injuries to one person and property damage was minimal. It was reportedly packed with human excrement. A report released on August 2005 by the United States-Indonesia Society described the events as follows. The investigators were thus able to recreate the bombers' activities. Amrizai, Idris and Ali Imran had simply walked into a dealership and purchased a new Yamaha motorbike, after asking how much they could resell it for if they returned it in a few days. Imran used the motorbike to plant the small bomb outside the U.S. consulate. Idris then rode the motorbike as Imran drove 2 suicide bombers in the Mitsubishi to the nightclub district in Kuta. He stopped near the Sari Club, instructed one suicide bomber to put on his explosives vest and the other to arm the vehicle bomb. The first bomber headed to Paddy's Pub. Idris then left the second bomber, who had only learned to drive in a straight line, to drive the minivan the short distance to the Sari Club. Idris picked up Imran on the Yamaha and the duo headed back into Denpasar. Idris dialed the number of the Nokia to detonate the bomb at the consulate. The 2 suicide bombers exploded their devices. Imran and Idris dropped the motorbike at a place where it eventually attracted the attention of the caretaker. The final death toll was 202, mainly comprising Western tourists and holidaymakers in their 20s and 30s who were in or near Paddy's Pub or the Sari Club, but also including many Balinese Indonesians working or living nearby, or simply passing by. Hundreds more people suffered horrific burns and other injuries. The largest group among those killed were holidayers from Australia with 88 fatalities. On October 14, the United Nations Security Council passed Resolution 1438 condemning the attack as a threat to international peace and security. 2 bodies were never identified and were cremated at Bali in September 2003. Awards. There were many acts of individual heroism. Kusaitino Kosi Halme, a Wallace in Futuna-born Australian citizen who was managing the Bounty Hotel in Kuta at the time of the attacks, sheltered survivors in the immediate aftermath of the blasts. He was singled out for praise with the award of the Medal of the Order of Australia on June 13, 2005. Husband and wife Richard and Jelana Poor, who organised a makeshift treege area in the Bounty Hotel's reception area, were both honoured with an OAM. James Parkinson, an emergency nurse, worked alongside Dr. Hogg from Wollongong in the Denpasar Signblaw Hospital running the trauma centre for the bombing victims. After disappearing in Africa and Europe for 3 years, the Governor-General's Department finally tracked him down and awarded Parkinson the Medal of the Order of Australia in 2005. Senior Constable Timothy Britton and Mr. Richard Joyce of Western Australia were both awarded the Cross of Valor for their actions during the course of the day. The Cross of Valor is the highest civil honour and is equivalent to the Victoria Cross for Australia, which is the highest military honour. The bomb. The Mitsubishi L-300 van bomb was initially thought to have consisted of C4, a military-grade plastic explosive which is difficult to obtain. However, investigators discovered the bomb was made from potassium chlorate, aluminium powder, and sulfur. For the Sari Club bomb with the L-300 van, the terrorists assembled 12 plastic filing cabinets filled with explosives. The cabinets, each containing a potassium chlorate, aluminum powder, sulfur mixture with a TNT booster, was connected by 150 meters of PETN-filled detonating cord. 94 RDX electric detonators were fitted to the TNT. The total weight of the van bomb was 2,250 pounds. The large, high-temperature blast damage produced by this mixture was similar to a thermobaric explosive, although the bombers may not have known this. Suspects. The organization suspected of responsibility for the bombing was Jemaah Islamiyah, an Islamist group allegedly led by radical cleric Abu Bakr Bashir. A week after the blasts, Arab satellite channel Al Jazeera put to air an audio cassette purportedly carrying a recorded voice message from Osama Bin Laden saying that the Bali bombings were in retaliation for support of the United States' war on terror and Australia's role in the liberation of East Timor. "You will be killed just as you kill, and will be bombed just as you bomb. Expect more that will further distress you." The recording did not however claim responsibility for the Bali attack. However, former FBI agent Ali Soufan confirmed that Al-Qaeda did in fact finance the attack. In addition, Hambali confessed that Al-Qaeda had sent him $30,000 to fund the bombings of the 2 nightclubs. The Indonesian chief of police, General Dari Bashir, said that the bombing was the worst act of terror in Indonesia's history. Aris Munanda is a Jemaah Islamiyah associate linked to Bashir. He is believed to have assisted the Bali bomber Amrizai in acquiring some of the explosives used in the Bali bombings. Philippine intelligence considers Munanda to be associated with Muhammad Abdullah Suaya, a Saudi national Abu Sayyaf group in southern Philippines. Munanda is still at large. A report by the United States-Indonesia Society describes the arrest of Amrizai and other suspects. General Pasterkan ordered his men to make the arrest early the next morning, November. Amrizai was asleep in the rear of the house. According to Greg Barton's account, Amrizai did not attempt to escape, but laughed instead, later exclaiming, "Gosh, you guys are very clever, how did you find me?" Amrizai's mobile phone, a particularly important piece of evidence, was seized during his arrest. Bags of chemical ingredients for bombs were found in his workshop and soil samples taken from outside his home showed traces of the primary chemical used in the Sari Club bomb. Police found receipts for the purchase of chemicals used to make the bombs, as well as a list of expenses incurred in making the bombs. Further search of Amrizai's home revealed copies of speeches by Osama Bin Laden, and Abu Bakr Bashir, the radical Indonesian Muslim cleric reputed to be the leader of Jemaah Islamiyah. The speeches exhorted listeners to wage jihad. Police also uncovered training manuals on ambush techniques and numerous articles on jihad. Under questioning, Amrizai revealed the names of 6 others involved in the bombing, Ali Imran, Imam Samudra, Dul Matin, Idris, Abdul Ghani and Umar Patek. But Amrizai's mobile phone proved to be the real catch. Indonesian investigators were able to print out a list of calls he had made immediately before, during and after the bombing, as well as the names and telephone numbers in the phone's memory. Pastaku kept Amrizai's arrest secret for 2 days. After it was announced, Polri monitored the sudden flurry of communications among numbers listed in Amrizai's telephone before the calls abruptly ceased. The investigators were able to identify the location of a number of the telephones, leading to a series of arrests. Indonesian authorities also believe more suspects remain at large. In 2005, Indonesian police arrested 24 additional people suspected of involvement in the Bali attacks and a 2003 bombing of the Marriott Hotel in Jakarta. On October 12, 2005, a story in Australian broadcaster SBS's documentary series Dateline, called Inside Indonesia's War on Terrorism, argued that the Indonesian military or police may have been involved in executing the attack. On June 13, 2007, it was reported that Abu Duana, who might have headed a terrorist cell in Bali, was captured. Just past midnight on November 9, 2008, the 3 convicted of carrying out the bombings were executed by a firing squad. Umar Patek was finally arrested in Abbottabad, Pakistan in early 2011. The U.S. government had offered a $1 million reward for his arrest. Patek is a suspect in other bombings as well as the one in Bali. Legal proceedings. Initial charges and trials. In April 2003, Indonesian authorities charged Abu Bakar Bashir, the alleged spiritual leader of Jemaah Islamiyah, with treason. It was alleged that he tried to overthrow the government and establish an Islamic State. The specific charges against Bashir related to a series of church bombings on Christmas Eve in 2000, and to a plot to bomb United States and other Western interests in Singapore. He was initially not charged over the Bali attack, although he was frequently accused of being the instigator or inspirer of the attack. On September 2, Bashir was acquitted of treason but convicted of lesser charges and sentenced to a prison term of 4 years. He said he would appeal. On October 15, 2004, he was arrested by the Indonesian authorities and charged with involvement in another bomb attack, which killed 14 people at the JW Marriott Hotel in Jakarta on August 5, 2003. Secondary charges in this indictment accused him of involvement in the Bali bombing, the first time he faced charges in relation to this attack. On March 3, 2005, Bashir was found not guilty of the charges surrounding the 2003 bombing, but guilty of conspiracy over the 2002 attacks in Bali. He was sentenced to 2.5 years imprisonment. The Australian, US, and many governments expressed its disappointment that the sentence was too short. In the outcome, Bashir was freed June 14, 2006, having served less than 26 months for his conspiracy, and on December 21, 2006, Bashir's conviction was overturned by Indonesia's Supreme Court. On April 30, 2003, the first charges related to the Bali bombings were made against Amrizai bin Haji Nur Hasyim, known as Amrizai, for allegedly buying the explosives in the van used in the bombings. On August 8 he was found guilty and sentenced to death. Another participant in the bombing, Imam Samudra, was sentenced to death on September 10. Amrizai's brother, Ali Imran, who had expressed remorse for his part in the bombing, was sentenced to life imprisonment on September 18. A fourth accused, Ali Ifran, the brother-in-law of Nordin Muhammad Top, was sentenced to death on October 1. Ali Ifran, alias Muklers, told police that he was the head of one of Jemaah Islamiyah's 4 cells and had ordered the Bali bombings. He also confessed that a fellow leader, Ridwan Isamuddin, known as Hambali, had provided the funds for the attacks. He told police, "I do not know for sure the source of the aforementioned money from Hambali. Most probably it was from Afghanistan, that is, from Sheikh Osama Bin Laden. As far as I know, Hambali did not have a source of funds except from Afghanistan." Another operative, Wanmin bin Wanmat, revealed to police that he had given Muklers money, at Hambali's request, and that he understood part of the money had come directly from al-Qaeda. As noted below, all three were executed on November 9, 2008. The Australian, US, and many other foreign governments expressed satisfaction with the speed and efficiency with which the Indonesian police and courts dealt with the bombing's primary suspects, despite what they characterized as light sentences. All Australian jurisdictions abolished the death penalty more than 30 years ago, but a poll showed that 55% of Australians approved of the death sentences in the Bali cases. The Australian government said it would not ask Indonesia to refrain from using the death penalty. On August 15, Ridwan Isamuddin, generally known as Ham Bali, described as the operational chief of Jemaah Islamiyah, was arrested in Ayutthaya, Thailand, the old capital 1 hour's drive north of Bangkok. He is in American custody in the Guantanamo Bay detention camp and has not been charged in relation to the Bali bombing or any other crime. Constitutional appeals. On July 23, 2004, one of the convicted bombers, Mashkur Abdul Qadir, successfully appealed his conviction. He had been tried under retroactive laws which were introduced after the bombing and which were employed to aid the prosecution of those involved in the attack. These laws were used by the prosecution instead of existing criminal laws, as they allowed the death penalty to be imposed and lowered certain evidentiary restrictions. The highest court in Indonesia, the Constitutional Court, found by a margin of 5-4 that trying the terrorist suspects under these retroactive laws violated Article 28(I)(1) of the Constitution. 2. The minority judges argued that international human rights documents such as the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights allowed an exception to not applying retrospective legislation in the prosecution of crimes against humanity. The majority found that this argument was inconsistent with the text of Article 28(I)(1), which states that the rights listed there cannot be limited under any circumstances. Following this decision, charges related to the bombings against Idris, who had confessed to participating in the attacks to the police and court, were dismissed. The legal status of Qadir, Idris and others who might have their convictions quashed following the ruling on the retrospective law is unclear. The Constitutional Court is a relatively new body, created after the fall of Suharto, and this decision was one of the first to overrule the constitutionality of the government's application of a law. Execution of perpetrators. On October 24, 2008, Bali officials announced that 3 men convicted of carrying out the bombings would be executed by firing squad in November 2008. On October 25, 2008, Communications and Information Minister asked the Indonesian media to stop calling the 3 heroes. The Denpasar District Court, on November 3, accepted a reprieve motion to reconsider the death sentences. Fahmi Bachmid, a lawyer for the family of Jafar Sodiq, a brother of Amrizai and Mukhlas, stated, "We lodged the judicial review to Denpasar Court to question decisions." Lawyer Imam Asmara Hadi stated, "We have lodged an appeal because we haven't received a copy of the Supreme Court rejection of our previous appeal." Indonesia's Supreme Court denied previous petitions for judicial review amid the Constitutional Court's dismissal of the bombers' appeals. Denpasar Court official Nenggah Sanjana said the 3-page appeal would be sent to Cilacap, Central Java Court. But the Attorney General's office said on November 1 the execution was very close. Supreme Court Judge Joko Sariko, however, said a last-minute legal challenge by the relatives of Imam Samudra, Amrizai Nur Hasyim and Ali Fran will not change or delay the execution. They were moved to isolation cells, and execution spots were ready on the Nusa Kambangan Island prison where they were being held. Local Chief Prosecutor Muhammad Yamin said they will be executed simultaneously, but at different locations. Imam Samudra, Amrizai Nur Hasyim and Ali Fran were executed by firing squad after midnight on November 9, 2008. In the final moment, there was no remorse or repentance, and they shouted, "Allahu Akbar," or "God is great." For burial, Mukhlas and Amrizai's bodies were flown by helicopter to Tengkulan, Lamongan, East Java, while Imam Samudra's body was flown to Serang, Banten, amid welcome martyrs' banner displayed at the cemetery. The execution caused high tension and sparked clashes in Tengkulan between hundreds of police and supporters. Indonesian singer and TV presenter Osama Lama attended the funeral of Imam Samudra. After praying with the crowd, she spent half an hour in the house of the executed man and spoke with his mother. On leaving, she was quoted as saying, "I'm certain he's gone to heaven." Ma'ruf Amin, deputy chairman of the Indonesian Ulamas Council, the chief body for Islamic clerics in Indonesia, said of the men, "They did not die a holy death. That can only be in a war, and Indonesia is not at war." Long Road to Heaven. In 2006, Long Road to Heaven, an Indonesian feature film about the bombings, was released by Kaliana Shira Films. The film was directed by Ines Sinero and written by Wong Leng and Andy Logam Tan. It stars Rowley Hill, Mira Folks, Alex Komang, Sia Saputra, John O'Hare, Sarah Treleaven, and Joshua Pandilaki. It tells the story during 3 different times: the planning a few months before the bombing, its execution in 2002, and the trials in 2003 through the viewpoints of both the victims and the bombers. The story is not chronologically linear, starting with the explosion and then moving from time to time so as all 3 plots are culminated one after the other. At the beginning of each scene, subtitles tell the date and location of the scene. Memorials. Bali. A permanent memorial was built on the site of the destroyed Paddy's pub on Legion Street. The memorial is made of intricately carved stone, set with a large marble plaque, which bears the names and nationalities of each of those killed. It is flanked by the national flags of the victims. The monument is well maintained and illuminated at night. The memorial was dedicated on October 12, 2004, the 2nd anniversary of the attack. The dedication included a Balinese Hindu ceremony and the opportunity for mourners to lay flowers and other offerings. The Australian ambassador and Indonesian officials attended the ceremony. The Balinese marked their commitment in a 9-day-long event. After major cleansing ceremonies, establishing a memorial for the lost lives, and paying respect to those who left loved ones behind, the people of Kuta look forward to restoring Bali's image through an event named Kuta Carnival, a celebration of life. The community event consists of traditional art performances such as Balinese sunset dances, sports on the beach as well as in the water for young and old, plus rows and rows of culinary displays along the 1 kilometer of sandy beach. In line with the return of tourism to Kuta, Kuta Carnival has grown into a tourism promotional event with major coverage from television and newspapers from across the globe. Companies, embassies, non-government organizations, associations and even individuals come forth to get involved in the various events, such as a Balinese dance competition presented by a surfwear company, an environment exhibition presented by an embassy, a fun cycle presented by a group of individuals, a seminar presented by an association and a parade on the streets presented by an NGO. Tourists and locals alike, more than 90,000 people participates in the numerous events, year after year. A repeated tragedy in Bali in 2005 did not reduce the Kuta community's determination to carry out this annual event. Kuta Carnival is conducted to commemorate and give respect to the victims of human violence and show the world the true spirit of local community survival despite terrorism attacks. On October 12, 2010, Australian and Indonesian survivors of the 2002 bombings attended a solemn commemoration service to mark the 8th anniversary of the devastating attacks. Melbourne. In Lincoln Square on the western side of Swanston Street, Melbourne, just north of the city blocks, is a memorial representing the 88 Australians who died in the bombings, and notably the 22 from Victoria. There are 88 jets in the fountain. At night there are lights representing all those who died. The fountain shuts off and becomes a reflecting pool on October 12 each year. This was one of the very few fountains allowed to operate during the drought in 2007. Perth. A memorial which lists the WA victims of the bombings was opened on the 1st anniversary, and is situated on the ridge of Mount Eliza in Kings Park, overlooking the city. The memorial is specifically designed to frame the sun's rays at dawn on October 12 each year and faces in the exact direction of Bali. Gold Coast. An Indonesian-style stone memorial is situated in Alam Memorial Park at Nerang. A bronze plaque lists the names of the 88 Australians who died in the bombings. An annual twilight service is held at the site of the memorial on each anniversary of the Bali bombings. Sydney . On the northern side of Koje Beach, a memorial to the Bali bombing victims comprises three interlocking bronze shapes that have an abstract resemblance to three bowed figures supporting each other. There are also some graffiti memorials in memory of the dead. The memorial to 7 residents of Sutherland Shire who were victims is at Cronulla. Called the Seed, the work is based on the seed and foliage of the Banksa robber, a native plant indigenous to the Shire. This sculpture of pink sandstone is the centerpiece of the memorial. It is set in a black granite pond located in Perryman Place not far from North Cronulla Beach, frequented by many of the 7 victims and their families. 2 plaques are set into the granite surrounding the pond. The plaques carry the victims' photos, names, and ages. And also details of the event, the design symbolism, its dedication, and a poem written by the families of the victims. The work is by sculptor Chris Bennett's and Ishibiki sandstone sculpture. South of Sydney, in the town of Ulladulla, a large memorial youth centre is being built as a practical and living memorial of Craig Dunn and Danny Lewis, 2 local victims of the bombings. Money is being raised through the Dunn and Lewis Youth Development Foundation. The first stage of the centre is now completed, which includes a 12-lane bowling alley, air-conditioned lounge area, food kiosk, and conference room. As soon as financially possible, the second stage will commence, building an auditorium, gymnasium and commence a wide variety of sports and health programs. We aim to complete the commercial kitchen and function rooms to establish additional income streams in this stage. Completion is anticipated by the end of 2012. Canberra A granite cube serves as a memorial in the East Informal Gardens of Parliament House. London On the 4th anniversary of the bombings, Prince Charles and Camilla, Duchess of Cornwall, unveiled a memorial in London, at the rear of the Foreign and Commonwealth Office main building, facing St James's Park. The memorial consists of a 1.5-metre marble globe, to represent that people from 21 countries were killed, and has 202 doves carved into it. The names of all 202 victims are on a curved stone wall behind the globe. It is the work of the artist Gary Breeze and the sculptor Martin Cook. Hong Kong In 2005, 2 marble wall placards were unveiled at Hong Kong Football Club in memory of the members of the club who were killed in the bombings. Comic, a 130-page comic book about the first Bali bombing has been launched to promote peace and discourage radicalism and terrorism in Indonesia. The book, titled Ketika Nurani Bakara, tells about the bombing from the perspective of 3 people, a volunteer who helped evacuate a bombing victim who lost her husband in the blast, the victim who struggled to raise her children without her husband, and a terrorist who regrets his involvement in the bombing. Timeline: Tuesday 15 October. Police release statement. C4 was the explosive material used to make the bomb. U.S. blames Al-Qaeda and Abu Bakr Bashir. Wednesday, October 16. Police Chief Brigadier General Budi Session said there is no indication of Al-Qaeda involvement so far. Thursday, 17 October. Susilo Bambang Udvarno admits possible involvement of foreigners in bombing. Focus now on 7 foreigners led by a Yemeni national. Police Chief Brigadier General Budi Session confirms bomb made of RDX. Friday, October 18. General AM Hendra Priyono says that technology and skills of bombers indicate they are not from Bali. Sunday, October 20. Imade Mankupastaka says investigation team focusing on 4 people, including a security guard and a retired Air Force officer. Monday, 21 October. Police receive order to release former Air Force Lieutenant Colonel Didi Misrukian despite indications of his link to the Bali blasts. Forensics experts confirm some of the victims could have been totally consumed by the blast. Tuesday, 22 October. Omar al-Farouk allegedly tells CIA Bin Laden transferred nearly $135,000 to JI for purchase of explosives from Indonesian military sources. AFP agent Brett Swan. Due to the scale of the explosion, highly organized perpetrators carried it out. Wednesday 23 October General Edward Aratanang says investigators have determined the bomb was a large bomb made of RDX with a derivative of ammonium nitrate, but unsure of how it was deployed. Friday 25 October General Edward Aratanang says bomb was RDX and ammonium nitrate. Saturday 26 October Major General Mudi Perapanwano claims bombers have been identified. Sunday 27 October Imade Mangkupastaka says that although bombs were made by Indonesians, they could not have done it without help from foreign bomb experts. Monday 28 October two generals, one police officer and one army officer named as possible suspects in bombing. Subsequent lawsuits filed against Washington Post Tuesday October 29 Susilo Bambang Udvarno denies army, police generals involved in bombing. Wednesday 30 October Imade Mangkupastaka says that they have identified the main player, who is also bomb maker. Thursday 31 October police released 3 sketches of bomb suspects that were part of a list of 10 names submitted to police. Friday 1 November international investigators say bombers are professionals. Thursday 7 November Mitsubishi L300 van owner arrested in East Java on November 5. Joint Inquiry Team issues statement that a white Mitsubishi L300 van loaded with explosives stopped minutes before the blast in front of Sari Club. General Edward Aratanang says police have not named any suspects but are focusing investigation on 10 persons. Friday 8 November Chief of Indonesian National Police, Dawi Basha, says Amrizai admitted using van for bombing but admits Amrizai does not match sketches. Saturday 9 November Imade Mangkupastaka says Amrizai admits to helping build main bomb. Sunday 10 November police claim Amrizai bought sulfur, ammonium, fluorine and chlorate from a chemical store in Surabaya. Monday November 11 police claim to have produced an initial reconstruction of planning and execution of bombing but AC Manolang expresses doubts about Amrizai's part in the bombing. General Edward Aratanang says Amrizai prime suspect in bombing. Tuesday 12 November Imade Mangkupastaka says 10 Indonesians suspected of bombing. Amrizai states he wanted to kill Americans in bombing. Basha says Amrizai held 4 meetings in Surakarta to plan bombings. Anti-terrorism officer, Kopassus, expresses doubt over police claims they have identified bombers, saying that the bombing would take a year of practice to execute. Chemical expert rules out conventional explosives as incapable of causing level of destruction at Kuta. Wednesday 13 November Amrizai now says he did not assemble bomb. Imade Mangkupastaka now says bomb consisted of 100 kilos TNT, PETN detonator and a DX booster. Thursday 14 November Amrizai identifies Samudra as one of the masterminds of the bombing, says he drove van to Bali but denies the assembly of it. Monday 18 November joint investigation team identifies 6 more suspects, Dulmatin, Idris, Imran, Patek, Samjura and Wayan, with Idris, Dulmatin and Samjura, as the assemblers. Tuesday 19 November Imade Mangkupastaka says investigators have not yet focused on source of explosives. Police say RDX and TNT trace found at blast site. Wednesday 20 November Australian police say they have not found RDX residue at site, only chlorate and TNT. Thursday November 21 Herman Sulistio says amount of explosives required to cause that amount of damage do not match van story. Police confirmed chemicals purchased by Amrizai were not the main bomb materials. Imade Mangkupastaka says main bomb materials TNT and RDX. Friday November 22 in Amrizai's interrogation transcript, he appears to be in dark about Sari Club and Padua unregistered trademark bar bombings until he sees it on TV. Saturday November 23 Basha says that Amrizai provided the vehicle and materials for the bombs. Sunday 24 November Basha says the bombings were carried out by 3 groups under leadership of Hambali. Monday November 25 Time magazine claims Yemeni terrorist mastermind of Bali bombing. Tuesday November 26 police detain accomplices in bombing and claim Samudra was in the process of obtaining a fake passport. Wednesday 27 November legal experts say Amrizai and Samudra confessions inadmissible. Thursday 28 November Bali bombing victims call for death of perpetrators. Friday 29 November Arizonan says Sordra interrogation transcripts are not included in his case file because a lawyer was not present. Saturday 30 November Australian police now claim JI operating in Indonesia. Sunday December 1 lawyers for Samudra say he is not linked to Bashir or Mukhlas. Monday December 2 analyst Sulistio hints the media reports, which relied on intelligence sources, may be false. Tuesday 3 December police released the names of 163 victims. Wednesday 4 December Bali investigating team unsure as to when the investigation into the missing 200 people will begin. Monday 9 December I made Manku claims that at least 90% of the Bali bombing plot has now been uncovered. Wednesday 11 December Samudra's lawyer expresses doubt on his client's ability to assemble explosives and alleges that a third party had manipulated Samudra and the other suspects and that 2 devices, not one, were used outside the Sari Club, one conventional and one high-tech device of great power. See also: List of terrorist incidents, Terrorism in Australia, 2004 Australian Embassy bombing, 2005 Bali bombings, National Geographic Seconds from Disaster Episodes, Australia Bali Memorial Eye Centre, Traumascapes. References. External links: Remember Bali, a memorial website, Australian Broadcasting Corporation. Online, Current Affairs Programme 4 Corners, The Bali Confessions. Bali's message of dialogue includes the Bali Declaration on Building Interfaith Harmony July 2005, Marooning in Bali, Bali is wounded.